All right. Well, thank you for being here today. I'm going to talk about a goat kidding record, a spreadsheet that we've made available for producers. We call it the Goat Kidding Record version 2015. That's kind of the year we kind of started dabbling in this program, and Earl Ward, Dr. Megan Rolfe, we're all part of this and making sure that we try to capture what we think producers need. And so I'm going to go through this spreadsheet a little bit, and this spreadsheet can be found at meetgoat.okstate.edu, and we'll have this recording to kind of be on that same website, so you can go back to it and see if you need to clarify anything on how information needs to go in. The spreadsheet you'll download will be blank. The information you see in front of you right now has got some lamb or kid information with tag numbers, and I'm going to kind of go through each one of these columns. The first column is the tag number. That can be a set of numbers or letters. In today's world, the Dairy Goat Association has an International Year letter. The American Boer Goat Association has an International Year number. And for the Boer Goat Association 2016, the letter F is what we'd want to write down for 2016. So if I went in here to number 502, I could change that to F502, and that first letter then would be signifying that it's the year 2016. And the one in front of it was born on December 31st of 2015, so we wouldn't want to actually use the letter E 501 for that one. Kind of distinguish the two, that one that was born in the previous year. There's only about 15 different days between those two animals, but they were in different years. And so that column should be somewhat explanatory. The use of letters and numbers. Identifying the animals is very important. What we're trying to do is look at our kid crop and to find out which ones are the good ones and which ones maybe we want to cull from. All right, in the notes section, you'll notice right here on the first animal I've inputted that we had a UW42 on the dam column. She had two kids. She had two of them that were both female, and there's a drop down menu here that you can select for either male, female, or whether. In this case, it was twins of both females. But in this particular case, that you didn't accept both of those. And so the next day we had another one born that had a single. And so we grafted number 5514 onto 101Y, thinking that, if we can let another dam take care of it, it's always better than bottle feeding the lamb or kid. In this particular case, we make a note of that, of which one has been transferred, because we're always looking at this data when we put it in. And usually we put it on in the order that they're born, and I would suggest that you do that. Put them in first as they're born, and then once you start to wean these animals, you might want to save it as a different file, because we're going to go ahead and sort this based on their 90-day adjusted weights, and the heaviest ones will sort up to the top, but you won't be able to have that same records of the order that they were born in. So I'd probably save it under two different names. I might start by saying, let's say this is the Jones herd. So Jones kidding 2016, and that's how I'd save it, save the file. And then once we get to weaning, I might say Jones weaning 2016. So you'd have two different files with the same kind of information. All right, birth dates, we just type those in just as you would for a normal calendar day. The color, we can always add descriptors to this column for the different color kids if you wanted to. The dam is very critical. We want to make sure we have a label for that, the numbers that might be associated with that. In this particular case, you'll notice that we've got one doe or dam with a W42, and down below we've got another one that's just 42. So that helps us distinguish between which one actually produced which offspring. The sires can be added in there, and we have a column there that you can type in the actual name or a number. And you'll notice here that the column isn't wide enough to really view the entire animal's name. If we go to the top here, we can spread this out, and it'll show the actual name a little bit better. And so you'll want to calibrate that to your own specification. I just usually leave it at a certain size, that way it can always show up on the screen. When we wean animals, we want to typically wean them all in one day, so it doesn't really matter what their age is. We're going to adjust to a common age of 90 days in this particular spreadsheet. The weaning group now, you'll notice that I have all ones here. And that's basically a contemporary group. And you want to think about, this is very critical of how you want to set this. You can use numbers or letters. And the way I want to use letters will take away this grafted animal. So if you'll notice here, if I put in an A, look at the adjusted weaning weight index column. Once I hit the enter button, it'll come up and say NA, meaning that we've taken that animal out of the contemporary group, because now that animal has been grafted to another dam, and it's really not the original mother's genetics that you're evaluating. So we actually kind of take that one animal away from the group. We still have an adjusted weaning weight, but you don't include that animal into the genetic contemporary groups. You'll notice on the sex of these, we had three options. We had female, male, or wethers. A lot of times people will go into this contemporary group and separate the females from the males. But you will notice down here at this bottom where we've got triplets, which right here I'm going to highlight when it says rearing and group raised. There's a drop down menu. We got one born and one raised, one born and two raised, two born and one died or something like that. So you'd have a 2-1. That'd be one raised by the dam. And triplets be 3 and 3 then, if they're all raised. So on that bottom three animals, those are all out of 102Y and out of the sire Big Red. And so that doe raised triplets and weaned off triplets. They were raised on that dam. And that grafted animal, you'll notice then, she had a single, and so we had a single, but we grafted it onto that doe, and so we put a 1-2 on there. And what this program does is helps adjust those weaning weights based on conditions like that. So it's still really only adjusting for her own lamb or kid, and coming up with an adjusted weaning weight. So once we have that information in there, we could go back in here and separate the females from the males if you wanted to. So I'm going to use 1 for females and 2 for males and 3 for wethers. And you should notice on the indexes that the numbers are starting to change. And that is based on, we're going to only look at indexes within a sex type. If you're first starting out and don't understand this, I would leave everything as a 1 unless you have a bottle lamb or a grafted kid like we used in this example. So we've got another wether here, and that changes the average weaning weight within each one of those groups, and so their indexes change within each one of those. So now once we sort these things, we can look at the top females, the top males, the top wethers in their own separate categories. So this program is built for a commercial operation where we might castrate some. Purebred producers are probably going to only have females and males. And from the drop-down menu on sex, we would only select the female or the male. They're not going to castrate them until maybe after weaning they might castrate some and cull some out. But we've already got the data uh, in the spreadsheet from male and female. So we're going to leave that one as a male. Uh, if this particular animal wanted to change it, we made a mistake on entering the data, and we can just go back and change that one. We're going to adjust that animal based on its sex, how it was raised. It was a single, raised as a single. Then the other component of this program adjusts for the age of the dam. Basically anything 3 through 7, there's no adjustment, and we've kept this program very simple to just say anything over 3 years of age, there's basically no adjustment for age of dam. The one, we know that kids born out of a single are not going to grow as fast, so we want to adjust those up. Kids out of a 2-year-old, we're going to adjust them up a little bit, but not quite as much as that 1-year-old. And we know that triplets, we're going to require more nutrition. There's more competition there, so we're going to adjust those up as well. So we adjust for sex, age of dam, and how those kids were born and raised. So those are the 3 adjustment factors that are calculated. You don't see the adjustment factors on this spreadsheet. They're hidden in different columns, and really what you're looking for is the 90-day adjusted weaning weight. So we're comparing apples to apples. Now once we have that information, we've got the kids information, we kind of want to find out which dams we have. And if we go to that spreadsheet, click on that bottom tab, we have these numbers that show 427, 261. That comes with the original download. You need to type in each of your own kid record information. So we had a W42, a 101Y, a 42, and a 62. So I'm going to try and type some of those in. So we got W42, and you should notice now that it brings those animals into this tab. So she had 2 kids born, and it tells each one of those adjusted weaning weights. Y102 was one of them, I thought. Go back to my kid records to make sure. 102Y. So if you don't get it exactly right, it won't bring that information in. So now we've got triplets added to it, and we'll go back one more time and find a 101Y. Did have only that one single animal born to it, but again, remember we raised a graft animal on that, but it only accounts for the ones that she raised, or um, the ones that she produced, I should say. That's really what we're talking about. Again, the sires, same thing. We want to find out which ones are the best sires, and so we had Iron Horse, Big Red, and Dapple Daddy. And let me see, I'm gonna have to go back to my kid records to remember what we had. The last one I had on there, I made all these up, was Casper. All right. And so we should see that each one of those sires had a certain number of kids. Big Red had the most number of kids at 4, and it tells you what each one of those kids adjusted to. If we go up here to this sort button and click on it, all we have to do is do a simple sort. And what it's going to do is sire or sort the lowest to the highest, meaning the one that had the lowest adjusted weaning weights is going to be your first one listed. And so Dapple Daddy actually only had 1 kid, but it had the highest adjusted weaning weights. And so, you're going to have to take that kind of into consideration. The Big Red had the most, and was the next highest sire. So we definitely want to keep Big Red around, but we might consider seeing if Iron Horse is one that we want to keep around. On the dam site, you can sort by 2 different ways. We can sort by average weight, and it's again from low to high. So what we're trying to look for is the ones that are not producing to find out which ones we kind of want to cull from. Now that's average weight per kid. The total weight is what we sell on, and so sometimes producers will look at total weight and say, okay, I'm going to send the ones that are only producing singles and keep the ones that are providing me with multiples births because it's a lot easier to pay for an animal that's has two kids and at decent weights. So that's kind of in a nutshell what this program can do, and I hope it's something that that you can use and incorporate. If you ever have any questions, please contact myself or Earl Ward. My contact information is brian.frecking@okstate.edu. Thank you.